I wanted to talk about the topic of destruction, of Churban, and of course redemption afterwards as well. And wine is a great vehicle for talking about that. And first of all, I've been thinking about destruction a lot. Even kind of flipped through a new book by Victor Davis Hanson about the destruction of civilizations. Very interesting.
The end of everything.
The end of everything. It itself kind of is echoes this book by Jared Diamond, Collapse. So there it was sort of civilizations that failed to, as it were, read the writing on the wall economically, and here it's civilizations that fail to read the writing on the wall politically. It's an interesting book. I'll maybe kind of cite it again later. But wine, grapes are a tremendously powerful vehicle for metaphor when it comes to virtually everything. And I've argued before, last year, that wine really is the metaphor for the creation of man, because as Jeremy mentioned, it's alive, it's always getting better, but it also contains a lot of the emotions, I would say, and frustrations of man in it. And we see that in Tanakh, right? From Noach to the prophets, there's so much talk of wine, vintages, crushing of grapes, zmira, so pruning vineyards, and so there are many nuances of metaphors for creative destruction that is attached to grapes. And the truth is, when you make wine, you experience that, you feel that it is a process that is akin to creation of mankind, or at least the creation of children, right? You take these grapes and you invest a lot in them, and at the end of the day you put them in a barrel. Maybe you go back to it a year afterwards, and you don't have a lot of control of how it turns out. And my experience has been both with my wine and my children that you open it up a year later and it's incredible, it's amazing, and then I feel like, well, I didn't do anything. I just put the grapes in there and everything happened really without my influence, and that's been my experience. Of course there's a different kind of experience that the prophets, especially Yeshayahu, relate to us. This is probably more aligned with the experience of other people, maybe my parents perhaps, that there's a sense of tremendous disappointment and frustration. Nowhere, I think, in literature is this raw and tremendously evocative than in the prophecy of Yeshayahu about the kerem. Right? Kerem haya le'didi, my beloved had a vineyard on a fruitful hill. He cleared it of stones and planted the best kinds of grapes. And he even hewed a wine press in it. Not an easy thing to do. If you go a kilometer south, there's an ancient Jewish settlement with the oldest Beit Knesset that's been discovered in Israel, and there's a wine press there just that way. I don't know what it's called. It's something. And there's a wine press there. You hew it in stone, and then below it is an enormous pit where you collect the wine, so it's instantly cold after you press it. It's definitely something to behold. He even, going back to Yeshayahu, he even built a watchtower in it because he hoped it would yield grapes. Instead, it yielded wild grapes, Be'oshim. Now, men of Yehuda and citizens of Jerusalem, you be the judges between me and my vineyard. What else could have been done for it that I failed to do for it? Why, when I thought it would yield grapes for wine, did it yield wild grapes? Now, I, as a biologist, really can't resist to mention that this question is the foundation of all modern biology. Why, when I hoped I would get 1,200 round peas, did I get 300 wrinkled peas? or thereabouts, and so forth. And now we know how to answer this question, at least practically, if not in moral terms. And that's because why don't grapes breed true? The same reason why no other organism, like people that reproduce through sexual reproduction, breed true. Because the properties of a grape varietal, like a Merlot or a Cabernet or a Shiraz, they're simply traits. They're not different species of grapes. They're a product of genetic shuffling that gets locked into place, and so we don't propagate grape varietals by taking seeds and replanting them, because they won't breed true. You'll get dominant alleles and recessive alleles popping up. You'll get something else. You can plant the seeds of a red grape and get white grapes, right? Because these are simply traits like blue eyes or curly hair, so forth. So really, that expectation is a little bit misplaced. But going back to the story, and something that's maybe more pertinent to what I wanted to talk about, what is the solution that Yeshayahu prophesies? He's going to remove the guard fence around the kerem. He's going to let it be trampled and let all sorts of wild things grow there. He's not going to water it, and he's not going to prune it. There will be no zmira. Now, what's remarkable about this, I think, is that this is identical to Shmita, right? You're not, all of these things that he's not going to do, those are the things that you don't do in Shnat Shmita. And in fact, if we look at, I'm not going to go through all the examples now, but if we look at Tanakh, there are quite a few analogies between Shmita and galut, right? So I would argue, in fact, that Shmita is the predominant model of galut that we have as metaphor in Tanakh, right? Even in Shema Yisrael, right? So there won't be any rain, and you'll be out of here. In fact, in one place it says explicitly that the land will keep Shmita for all the years that you didn't follow my commandments and keep Shmita during galut. So the model for destruction here, and in many places in Tanakh, even when Am Yisrael sin and Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, I will rebuild the nation from you, I think this is also a kind of Shmita, right? What is Shmita? Shmita is sort of going back to the basic natural state of something, as what David Attenborough would call rewilding, right? So taking away all of everything that's been built up, all human artifice, taking a step back and letting things settle back to a sort of natural steady state or equilibrium. And I think that is a powerful metaphor for galut, and then of course Geula. And I want to use this model of galut and Geula, Shmita, and then the rebirth, to try to understand the Gemara, which I'm sure everyone knows. It's a very, very often cited, one of the dozen or so sugyot in Gemara that pretty much everybody's heard of at one point or other. That I think nevertheless is a bit complicated and confusing. And I want to try to use this agricultural metaphor of Shmita to contrast it to the one, a new agricultural metaphor that I think appears in the sugya in Gemara. And of course, the Gemara that I'm talking about is the very, very end of Masechet Makot, where Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and Rabban Gamliel go up to Har Bayit. They were apparently unaware of the strict prohibition of the Israel chief rabbinate going out to Har Bayit, and nobody told them, and so they went ahead and did it. And shegiu la'ar hatzofim karu bigdem shegiu la'Har Bayit. All of Rabbi Akiva's companions, when they got to Har Bayit, they started crying. Rabbi Akiva mitzachek. So whatever mitzachek means. So they ask him, why are you mitzachek? Why are you laughing? And he asks them, well, why are you crying? The rest are good. So well, we're crying because I missed the pasuk, because they saw a shual, a fox, run out of the Kedushah Kedushim. So because of that, before even a non-Kohen couldn't go into the Kedushah Kedushim, and now there are animals running around in it. And the fox here is, I think, significant, right? Many people think it's significant. And why are you laughing? Here it gets a little bit complicated, right? So he says, because Yeshayahu, his nevuah, and we're now talking about nevuah that's basically right after what I just cited, right after the story of the vineyard, right? Pretty much right after that, says, I will take Edim Ne'emanim. The Yeshayahu's prophecy is dependent on two witnesses. Uriah Kohen, kind of like my Uriah, and Zechariah ben Yevachiyahu. And Uriah Kohen was, his nevuah is in Beit Rishon, Zechariah was in Beit Sheni. I was afraid that without, I didn't see the nevuah of Uriah Kohen come to pass, so I wasn't sure about the nevuah of Zechariah, but now that I have seen, what does Uriah say? Lachem v'lachem Tzion sde techaresh. The Tzion is like a plowed over field. And Zechariah says, old people will sit in, people will grow old in peace in the streets of Yerushalayim. And now that I've seen the nevuah of Uriah, now I know that the nevuah of Zechariah will also come to pass. Wonderful. So say Akiva Nachamtanu, Akiva Nachamtanu. So the you have comforted us, the double Nechama. Okay. So I think this is very confusing. Like Ma Kesher, right? Why does there need to be this very, very complicated explanation? And I've heard a couple of explanations for this Gemara. The first one, I'm not going to say where, but it actually misquoted the Gemara in an interesting way. So the explanation was, well, Rabbi Akiva said, now, I've seen a fox come out of Kedushah Kedushim. This is what Yirmiyahu prophesied. Now that I've seen that, I believe in God, I believe in prophecy, now I know that all the good things. So things are very bad right now, but we knew that was going to happen. Now all of the good things that Hashem promised will come to pass as well. Right? And so obviously this is a parody of this Gemara, because that's clearly not what's happening. It's not that all of a sudden Rabbi Akiva discovered his belief in prophecy. There's something much more complicated at work here. But the misquotation makes sense because it's sort of mitabakesh, right? It seems like that would be the logical thing, that, well, everything's from Hashem, and we know that the bad things come from Hashem, so He also promised us good things, so great, everything will be fine. But this is not what He's saying, obviously. And what I want to suggest, the second explanation for this I heard was that, well, what Rabbi Akiva realized is the severity of the destruction was a unique phenomenon, right? The Romans allegedly, apparently, I heard this from somebody, when they didn't do this to anyone other than us, everyone else, they kind of were mistadrim, they got along, but with Jews, they really just destroyed everything, and it was complete destruction. And so Rabbi Akiva realized sort of the unique status of Jewish people. And the problem with that explanation is not true. Historically, actually, there were many people who were conquered by the Romans that had it much worse at the end of the day. Great example I read about from Victor Davis Hanson was Carthage. So when the Romans destroyed Carthage, they completely destroyed the civilization, the language, the religion, and they forbade everyone to even build within like several kilometers of the site. And this gave rise to a word, even in Romance languages, punic or punitive, from the description of the Punic civilization. So Romans like to do this, and this was a unique example. So I want to suggest that Rabbi Akiva has a chidush here, and I think that what draws attention is a new agricultural metaphor, plowing, right? As opposed to Shmita, right, which is the common trope, what typically happens. So I think one of the things, and this helps to explain, what is the connection between, Beit Rishon and Beit Sheni. In other words, if you look at the end of Masechet Makot, this is the very, very end, but before that, Chazal are expressing anxiety. What kind of galut is this going to be? What is the purpose of this destruction? What does Hashem intend? And there are different theories. Will we be like a lamb that's lost, and Hashem will come and bring us back, sort of in one piece as a lamb that got lost, or will we be swallowed up and digested by the goyim like cucumber or tomato and come out the other end and then sprout fresh? That is also a metaphor that's used. So there's a lot of anxiety about the meaning of this destruction, and I think that the metaphor of plowing here is really operative. So it's a different kind of churban, it's a different kind of galut. Shmita, like we said, it's just leaving everything alone and hoping it regenerates from its natural essence, as it were. Plowing is totally different. It's activity, uniquely human activity. One of the greatest inventions in the history of mankind was to attach something sharp to a stick that can then be pulled by a donkey or a horse. It is transformative for agriculture. It introduces new productive essential elements like oxygen into the soil. It changes the microbiome, the microbes in the soil. It makes growth that was not possible before possible now. And so I think that one of the ways to look at this nachama is this idea that this galut, the one that we have experienced so far, it was intended more as a plowing, as adding new elements to the soil. And I think, I don't have a lot of great suggestions for what those things might be, but I've heard others, including from Jeremy, that, in the past 2,000 years, we have shaped the world economy in our own image in such a way that allows us now to be a powerful nation. We've become a people that perhaps now, with the help of Hashem, have more of a chance to fight off our enemies and stay here indefinitely. I would say, as a final thought, that one place where this galut and this plowing has perhaps given us something is in terms of our relationship with Hashem, with Kadosh Baruch Hu, like a couple, that's been together for a very long time and been through everything. I think we too, at this point, have evolved in our relationship with Hashem over the past 2,000 years, so that nothing is new and nothing is will sort of rock the boat too much, and Bezrat Hashem will be able to withstand the formidable challenges that we have in front of us now, fully return to Eretz Yisrael, build the Beit HaMikdash, like Rabbi Akiva and his friends, go up to Har HaBayit, Bezrat Hashem, soon, maybe together, and be here forever, as the Zechariah mitnabeh. Thank you.